Welcome to Culture Connect Live.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Culture Connect Live, where meaningful conversations connect people, ideas, and communities. I'm Belle Duplexis.
Hey, I'm Bobby.
And before we get started, if you enjoy what we do, please support us by liking, sharing, and saving our posts. Every interaction helps the algorithm introduce Culture Connect Live to more people and new audiences around the world. And we truly appreciate your support. So, tonight, we're honored to welcome educator, leadership expert, executive advisor, author, and Clarity Over Noise creator. We want to introduce you to Dr. Tadé. Hi, Dr. Tadé. How are you?
Hi.
Hey,
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming by our house. It's like, that's what we like to say around here. Thank you for coming by our house. But before we dive into your work, who is Dr. Tadé Ayeni when you're not working?
I love that question because every podcast that I've ever been on, we just kind of go, straight to all of the things that I'm known for. I would say first and foremost, I'm a dad. I have three little boys, and it really fuels a lot of what I do because um, you you don't need me to tell you what it means to be a young black man or a young black woman growing up in the United States and all the kind of the juxtaposition for how this is how the world is supposed to work. This is how the world works for you, and to navigate all of that. But I think as soon as you bring a child into this world, you think about all the unnecessary obstacles that were in your way, and immediately you say, okay, things got to change. There is no reason that my child has to go through all of these unnecessary hoops, just to get to where they want to be. So I think like when we had our first son, it just lit a fire. It just like really lit a fire, and then we have my second son. Then we had a third son, and now I'm just kind of really kind of embracing dad life more than anything else that I'm doing. And it's funny because I was trying to scale back my work, but it really kind of fuels everything that I'm doing in this really kind of beautiful balance.
wow.
Yeah, being a dad it certainly changes your aspects. It changes the way you look at the world, the way you see things. You definitely being a parent. Let me just say that being a parent, it definitely changes the way you see the world. I agree. You want things to be better. We don't want our children going through the same struggles that we've gone through.
In the special, you have two things. You are the dad, and you're also somebody who take care for people. So it's kind of, you have a lot of responsibility.
So, what inspired you to create Clarity Over Noise, Dr. Tadé?
Well, feel free to just call me Tade. Everyone does. The only people that call me Dr. Ayeni are my students, and I came here to learn from both of you as much as to give away any knowledge that I have. Clarity Over Noise really kind of came out of I think everyone has this moment where when you first enter the working world, you're just trying to make ends meet. You're not thinking about doing my passion or this or that. You're like, rent is due on the 30th. So I need anything that will, get me to rent. And you eventually hit a point where you're not just surviving anymore. You're not extremely wealthy, but the bills are being paid, and you know that you'll have dinner tonight, and so things start to slow down, and you start to then think about like not just what kind of work will, get me paid, but what kind of work is really my calling? What kind of work really kind of, gets me out of bed in the morning? And what I found was that I so just to kind of backtrack a little, I got my doctorate in 2014, and it was in educational leadership. And so there's kind of two tracks that you can go into that. Some people go deep into education, some people focus on the leadership aspect. I just did both on parallel tracks. And so eventually I began to advise other leaders, because what I found was that the path to leadership for a lot of people comes through subject matter um, expertise, which really just means you're really good at the work. And because you're really good at the work, maybe you are a doctor or you're a lawyer, um, just whatever your actual job is, because you're really good at the day-to-day work, you get promoted into leadership. And so when you get promoted into leadership, you tend to do what got you there, but it doesn't work because leadership is a whole different kind of job. You can't just lean more into the grind. And so I found more than one leader who, on paper, should have been crushing it, and they're in their first leadership post. Everyone was like, that's the guy, or she's the one. We have to promote her. And then you get the promotion because you worked so hard, and you develop such a great reputation. And they really struggled. And the more they struggled, the more they leaned into doing the work that got them there. And the thing that they really struggled with was that leadership is like a career change in disguise. You come into the same office, you're working with the same people, but the job has changed overnight. And so I would step in to help people like that. And just you always kind of feel like, how could I help a CEO? How could I help a COO? Like maybe I'm kind of reaching too far to think that I have something for this person. And again and again and again and again and again, the things that I would point out would be like obvious to me, because this is what I spent years studying, writing about, teaching. But for them, it was like mind blowing. Like, wait, what? And so that's when I kind of realized, oh, I think there's a market for this. I think this is not just like a one-off, or like, two people struggle with this, but I think that this is like an actual trend of people who are really talented, really brilliant, really smart, and have earned their way to the top, but then just struggle with, okay, now that I'm here, how do I actually lead? And so clarity over noise was really just started out by being a place where you could slow down for a second and really look at things, and even look at your own thinking, look at your own per perspective. And by cleaning up the way that you think, and the way that you're viewing things, you actually discover all the insights that you need to help you to really lead in an effective way.
Wow.
Brilliant. I really like that. I like the way you explained it, because you're right. So many times we think we're ready for leadership, and then you step into leadership and it's not what you think it would be, And so you struggle adapting to the new the new responsibilities, the new goals. And yeah, I just think that is absolutely needed. So yeah.
You gotta face all the challenges, all those kind of things. It's not easy
Mm,
for movement.
absolutely. So why do you think so many people today struggle to separate information from understanding?
I think the there's a level of a depth that is easy to miss. And so I'll be the first person to say that I'm guilty of this all the time, where if we have seen a term a lot, then because the term looks familiar, and especially if we know what the term means in a basic sense, then because the term looks familiar, we often mistake that with a deep level of actually grasping some of the deeper concepts that are there. So I'll give you a, brief example. I'm a deep expert in when it comes to leadership, when it comes to education, and when it comes to um, systems. And so my so my son asked me a question maybe a few weeks ago that was outside of my expertise. He said something like, why can't the government just print enough money so that everybody could be a millionaire? So I tried to answer the question, but I'm not an economist. So I started, kind of explaining, well, then it might drastically impact the economy. And he's looking at me and I'm like, oh, now I have to explain what the economy is. And I'm like, well, it's kind of like, you have your gross domestic product and then you have supply and demand. And my son is 8 years old. So he's looking at me like gross domestic product, supply and demand. And then I realized that I know what the economy is, but if you really push me beyond some very basic terms, I was sitting there like, eventually I was like, who wants ice cream? Because I was like, this is harder than what I thought it would be. And I think that so that's a very human thing that happens to people, which is we have seen a term before, and we often mistake familiarity with a deeper level of grasping all of those concepts. I see it most in my field in terms of things that are called best practices. Best practices, a lot of them are just things that people have passed on to each other, but that are not based in any kind of research. And
Right.
so when I work with leaders, that is the first thing that I begin to attack is I say, hey, what would you do in this situation? What do you think about that? And they're just kind of regurgitating things that they've heard. And then I ask them, hey, where'd you hear that? Hey, have you
Right.
ever seen the research on that? And they're like, not really. And so just like me with my son, eventually they're like, who wants ice cream? And when we get to that point, that's the moment where the actual work begins.
Yeah, I mean, I get it because I'm like, who wants ice cream a lot when I'm
Yeah,
out of
yeah,
an area that I'm not comfortable in, whether that be with a friend and yeah, they're asking about something that they think I should know, or whether that be at work and we may have a client or something and I have to research that. So yeah, I get it. One of one of your recent posts says that put any group of people under pressure, and I love this. Put any group of people under pressure or in emotional, psychological, and financial pressure, and one of two things will happen: they'll turn on each other, or they'll decide that nobody gets left behind. What inspired you to write that? It's great, but what inspired you to write it?
yeah. Actually, that post is all about my parents and what I saw from them in my formative years. So I was born in Nigeria, West Africa, and my family moved to the United States when I was two. So I was raised here. But one kind of unique thing about my parents before they moved here is my dad graduated medical school in Nigeria. But to actually practice as a physician, you first need to do 3 years of residency after medical school. So he graduates medical school, walks across the stage. He's Dr. Ayeni. And my mom had also been quite successful in a business there. So they came here, and he went from being Dr. Ayeni, ready to go into residency, to just trying to make ends meet. I have an older sister and I have a younger sister. So you come to a new country, you don't know anyone, and you have a 3-year old, a 2-year old, and your wife is pregnant with your third child. So they both went from being quite well established there to just taking any job they could get. And so I saw my parents you, have those moments where it's like we have enough money to put gas in the car to get me to work and back. And when I get back from work, we're gonna figure out where we're gonna get the next couple of dollars so we can put more gas in the car. And so one thing that I saw from them in that time is as I mentioned in that post, you put any group of people under immense psychological, physical, emotional, and financial pressure, and one of two things will happen. They'll turn on each other or they will double down on having each other's backs. And I saw my parents again and again and again and again choose each other, choose their faith, and choose our family. They just tripled down like we're all gonna make it. No one's gonna left behind. No one's gonna get left behind, and any we're not pointing any fingers. And within a matter of about like 5 to 10 years, they went from that to my dad practicing as a physician, my mom going back to school to become a social worker. So we went from, barely being able to have money to put gas in the car to being homeowners in the United States. And so you fast forward 20 years when I was getting my doctoral degree, I thought back to that and I thought to myself, if you could bottle up whatever it was that I saw and you could intentionally reproduce that in different types of organizations, you would have something and in different teams, you would have something immensely powerful. So I didn't know the words for it at that time, but that's part of what I was actually trying to study when I decided to study education and to study leadership. And eventually, um, when I completed my dissertation, I went back to study it even further by looking at how Black students in particular matriculate to and through medical school, because and the whole thought behind that was that I everyone that I brought into the study, I asked them, okay, you are about to graduate medical school today, and you're Black. Growing up, did you see anyone who looked like you doing this? And was it common belief that you could do this? And everyone said no. And I said, so you're like a walking miracle. So tell me how you did it. And a lot of what they brought out was what I had seen with my own parents. So I eventually, like, all I've been trying to do throughout my whole career is take what I saw from being like a vibe to being an actual framework that you can apply to teams and apply to organizations, so that when you do that and when you reproduce that kind of environment where it's like, look, nobody's getting left behind. We are all going to make it together. We're going to double down on having each other's backs. You can have teams and you can have different types of organizations that can change the world if you can create that in a consistent way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for explaining that.
That's a lot. Yeah. I wanted to say one thing. How is the technology changing healthcare? Well, now because we're living with a lot
He's
of
not a healthcare doctor.
with the things.
Yeah. Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
What you say?
So, Dr. Ayeni, let's or Tadé, excuse me.
Yeah.
Let's let everyone know that you are a doctor of education, right? So that is that's what Dr. or Tadé is.
It's a case, so that's why I was coming with a question by you interrupt. So
I'm sorry.
anyway,
Go ahead.
no, it's okay.
So let's switch gears because I interrupted our movie. So sorry. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Let's switch gears. The recent developments surrounding the Nolan Wells case, right, have generated a great deal of discussion and emotion. Rather than focusing on the medical findings themselves, I'd like us to take a moment to talk about how we process information during emotionally charged situations. So, as someone who studies leadership, communication, and decision making, what advice would you give people who are trying to understand emotionally charged situations before all the facts are known?
Yeah, so I'm really glad that you brought that up because my other area of expertise is actually in something called systemic equity. And so what that means is when we talk about equity, we often talk about it in interpersonal ways. Things like this. um, one person's black, one person's white, and there's one promotion, and the white person gets the promotion, even though the black person might have been at that company for twice the amount of time and has been doing a better job. That could be an issue related to equity, but it's still one to one. So my other area of expertise is how do you take equity and how do you spread it in a systemic way so that you go from having like one or two feel good stories to having equity being the normal practice at that organization or in that city or in that nation. And so when and so I've been considering this tragic situation through that lens. And so the lens that I often kind of immediately look for is you have to look at what would normally happen if this person was of a different eth ethnicity, and is it happening now? And so that's a place where, and so going back to your actual question, which was, you see this happen, and I feel like if you're Black in America, your kind of initial response, at least mine, is we've heard this story so many times. Like when is this gonna stop? And immediately, I mean, I don't know about you, but I didn't feel good seeing this. A young man with this whole future ahead of him, goes off with some friends and just doesn't come back. Um, you, that and that just doesn't sit well with me. And so there's two places where I often kind of encourage people to begin looking. Um, One is to take a lot of what you're feeling, and especially sometimes with these situations, as the facts come out, maybe it was an accident. But the other thing that may happen is, as the facts come out, you realize that this was an injustice. There were a lot of, race-based things that may have occurred that should not have occurred. And so, so you feel the anger and you feel the sense of injustice. I'm not saying yet that that's what happened because we don't have enough information, but I'm saying that if this moves in that direction, what I often kind of encourage people to do is to take a lot of what you're feeling, the anger and the sense of this isn't right and we can't let this stand, and to pour that into changing the actual system so that we get more equitable results in the future. And that obviously has different levels that I won't go into right now, but that's the frame that I always look at it as. Number one, how can we make sure that this family gets justice? And then number two, how can we make sure that if they do get justice, it's not a one-off and then we just go back to what was. We need to always make sure that number one, they get justice and they get and and they get as much justice as they can get, but then we leave a better system so that this time next year we're not talking about a new Nolan Wells.
Absolutely. Very well said. And I agree. There's different types of injustices. Like you said, we don't know if there has been any injustice in this case. However, I mean, injustice can come in the form of, you know, better treatment or the way a situation is handled, like an investigation. You know,
Hmm. Hmm.
one race of people may get an investigation that is worthy, and one race of people may just be completely overlooked. That is injustice.
Yes.
So there's so many Nolan Wells stories, unfortunately, and I'm in
Hmm.
agreement with you. I just hope that we this can change. We our hearts go out to their families, but you know we have to work on a system in a systematic way to encourage change at the very minimum. You know,
Yeah,
It's so
yeah, I
much
think,
happening.
oh, go ahead.
yeah,
It's so much happening. So on these points, I mean, we really need to stand on some stuff because it's now terrible level because we cannot keep watching and listening and seeing what is going on, like
Right.
a repetition.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Exactly. So it is time, well, before we get into our Culture Connect lightning round, I want to give you an opportunity to tell the audience where to find you and what we can expect next for you from you. Do you have any projects upcoming or anything like that? Tell us about that.
Yeah, yeah. My the main place where a lot of my best thinking lives right now is on my Substack newsletter. It's just clarityovernoise.substack.com. And so the reason that I point people there is because most people kind of do one thing. They just sit in one area and then they drill down. My work really sits at the intersection of a lot of things that apparently don't talk to each other, but that have a lot to do with one another. And so what I found is that the best way for me to help people is to just give them access to the frameworks that I've created to kind of understand the world as it's changing around them. One of the most common things that happen to me when I work with leaders or when organizations bring me in is I'll do a workshop or I'll work on a one-to-one or I'll do like a keynote. And the number one thing that people say to me after is, I never looked at it that way. Or I thought it was like this, and this is the first time that I've realized that it's like that. And so what I've realized, especially working with leaders in very high positions that have failed, is in the past I thought like when you look at how this leader handled it, I thought, oh, this person's a bad leader. And then you talk to them and then you give them access to this framework. And I realized, oh, they were doing their best, but their basic approach of how they were thinking about it was so off that it was really taking their best and funneling it in the wrong direction. Um, so one of the basic principles of clarity over noise um, and of my book is that I'm not telling you to stop. I'm trying to slow you down temporarily so that you can speed up in the right direction. And so that's why when people connect with me through my newsletter, it gives them kind of a low pressure way to just access the way that I think, the way that I view the world, the things that I bring to organizations, and then from there it kind of grows into these really cool partnerships.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. And tell us the name of your book, please, and
Yeah, it's
where we can find it.
Oh, sure. Yeah, it's called Clarity of Thought, Thinking Clearly About Leadership, Strategy, and Systems. It's sold through Amazon Books. I also have recorded the book myself, so it's also on Audible
Oh,
as well.
great. That's good information. I love Audible because that's
Yeah,
where
yeah.
I get all of my books from. I listen to them. I get up in the morning and stretching, listening to
Yep.
them. So yeah, that's good information.
I'll be sometime I'm playing on the car and I listen like, oh, what it is on the playlist and it's come on. I said, oh.
It's my stuff. It's my Audible. So before we let you get out of here, it's time for the Culture Connect lightning round. And this is a round where I'll just say a word or a phrase, and you tell us the first thing that comes to your mind. Okay?
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, great. Leadership,
People,
integrity,
honesty,
mm, communication,
listen,
purpose.
God,
I love that. Okay, curiosity,
knowledge,
legacy,
Family.
Beautiful. Coffee or tea?
Oh, coffee's the only way to go. But you know,
Man, we got coffee with this weather. Why not?
Yeah, it's hot, but I take my coffee every morning at 8 o'clock. Okay.
I tell people, look, if you want to have tea, it's okay. You could be wrong, but I'm gonna have coffee.
So, Tade, one more thing before you get out of here. We want to do our signature culture connect um, segment. I can say every guest who visits Culture Connect, we ask this question. Of course, any answer is okay, is great, but the question is, if you could bring anyone in person or living to no, I'm sorry. If you could bring anyone living or deceased from another country, culture, or profession to your dinner table for one conversation, who would that be and why?
So just to clarify, does it have to, can they be from the United States or they have to be from another country?
No, they can be. They don't have to be.
Oh, okay, got you, got you. Maya Angelou, and I will tell you why real quick because um so the
Good
backstory to this
choice.
is yeah, it's she so there's all these leadership books out there, right? You know, people often ask me
Mm-hmm.
because I'm an assistant professor, number one thing people ask me is what should I read? What should I read? What should I read? And there's lots of really good books on leadership. But when I give people my top three of if you want to become a better leader, what you should read, her book, Letter to My Daughter, is actually the book that I recommend
That
because
is my daughter.
in that book, she has a chapter where, and so the real backstory to that is because people often think of leadership as being in charge of people, but leadership at its essence is really doing two things. It's asking these two questions and coming back to them. How will this impact people and why are we doing this? Whereas,
Mm-hmm.
and so the distinction is that management is really asking this question, how can we get this done? So management is not easier or harder than leadership. It's just distinctly different. And so the best leaders are probably doing 70% leading, 30% managing, and the best managers are just doing that same ratio, but in reverse. And so point being, because when you have a leadership title, people expect so many visible things to get done that you often
Mm-hmm.
slip into managing without realizing it. Managing is important, it's just different. So, the key thing that will help you to lead better is learning how to center people, how to hear people, and how to work with people, and how to move people. And so, I'll give you a, brief example. She has a chapter in there where she talks about how she was visiting a West African country and
Mm-hmm.
she she was being hosted by her wealthy friend there. And
Mm-hmm.
so it was kind of like a dinner party. And she's in the dinner party and she comes to this room. And in the room, no one's stepping on the carpet. Everyone goes around the carpet. And so she
Mm.
thought her friend was being kind of like sedity, like, don't step on my
Right.
carpet because it's so expensive. So
Right.
she's like, I won't stand for this. I'm stepping on the carpet. So she walks right across the carpet and then she walks back across it, right? And then someone goes, okay, it's time for dinner. And then servants come in and they roll up the carpet that she just walked on. Then they lay out a new one, even more beautiful. And then everyone sits around the carpet and she realizes that wasn't a carpet. That was the dinner table. Because and
Oh
so
my gosh.
yeah, yeah. And so
That
she
is
talks about how
wild.
I was so embarrassed and I just and she tells that story because she said it helped me so much to actually realize how much perspective means and how many assumptions we make and how
Yes,
you know she had a great intention, which was come on, don't ever be so wealthy that you don't let people walk on stuff. Don't be that guy, right?
exactly.
But without the context, she took that very good intention
Oh,
and walked on the dinner table. And so just that story alone,
excellent.
I would say you read that book and you understand what she's talking about. That'll help you more than 20 so-called books on leadership. So mine would be Maya Angelou.
Wow.
That is exceptional. I'm going to get that book. I'm going to read it. I'm going to listen to it.
You're gonna enjoy
Yes,
it.
I'm sure I'll enjoy it. But thank you, Tadé. Thank you so much for stopping by our house. We
Yeah, yeah,
really
appreciate it too.
appreciate you. And please stop by anytime. We'll be home.
Yeah,
Will do.
yeah. Your knowledge is it's helpful. So we
Yes,
really appreciate, and the people who watching us also. I
Yeah.
hope they get something on it. It will benefit not only us but the community around the world also.
absolutely.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
thank
Yeah,
you so
likewise.
much
Thank
for
you for
your
having me.
time.
Yeah, appreciate you.
See you next time.
See you next
on the
time.
next booth.
So thank you, everyone. I hope, and I'm sure, not I hope, but I'm sure you enjoyed Dr. Tadé, or Tadé, he told us to call him, with all of his knowledge. Please follow him and also read his book. He's on Substack, Tadé, Tadeayeni. Make sure you follow him. Don't forget, stay right here. We have another interview coming up. And don't forget to follow, like, and share. See you in a minute.
Hey, not only just watching, but you know what you can do? Put the comment and the
Yes,
like, follow. Then you
absolutely.
can get a notification every time we go live.
Yeah, there you go. From the master himself. See you in the next show.
Yeah, let's go.